I want you to think about a limit. All right. Now, I'm not talking about setting limits. Like, we set limits, we set boundaries. If somebody's stepping on our toe, you got to put up a fence. It's your property, this space, and you don't want people dumping things over the fence. And if they're being mean or abusive, say that's not okay. We set a limit on that behavior. We say no, I'm not going to participate in that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is as you're moving forward, as you're doing something in a relationship or in performance in life or in some kind of achieving something or building something or whatever it is that you're trying to do. We have limits, right? You have so much energy. You have so much physical strength. You have so much emotional strength. But not only that, external reality has its limits as well. And there are real limits in the physical universe. There are real limits in the relational universe, how far you can go with somebody, various areas. For example, what would be an example? Well, let's say I go down to my, friendly neighborhood fast food spot. They have healthy choices there. Don't write me a letter. And I go to the counter and I say, hey, can I have an extra cream for my coffee, please? They'd say, sure. Can I have 2 of those? Yeah. You know what? I really, can I have a few more? Yeah. While you're at it, can I have a refill on my burger? They're going to probably go no. Why? Because you hit the limit of where they were willing to go. You're going for your boss. Talk to your boss about, hey, can I take a day off next week? Yeah, you could do that. We got things pretty well under control. You've been doing, yeah, I don't mind. Could I have 33 days off? Sure. Oh, 45? What's the number? We don't know, do we? But here's how we operate in life. Or how about a business example? You go and you want to start something or you want to do something and you don't have any money and you know the truth, which is you don't believe the myth that it takes money to make money. How many people have heard that? Well, it takes money to make money. I don't have any money, so I can't. No, it takes money, but it doesn't take your money. You can go out and find an investor. You can find a lender. You can find a stakeholder. You can do a barter. There's a million ways to get what you don't have. So let's say that you don't believe that myth. So you're going to go out and you're going to get an investor to start your popsicle stand. Okay. And how much do you need? Well, you've figured out, your dream is this big, and for this big, maybe if you had that much in there. But what if you ask them for double that? Then what could you do? Well, they're not going to get. How do you know they're not going to give you that? You don't. You don't. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about assumed external limits. Assumed external limits. And what I mean by assumed is you might be right. He might not give you, or she might not give you 3 days off, but you don't know that until you hear it come out of their lips. And you don't know they won't give you that extra burger until you hear it come out of their lips. It's just coming out of your head. You're single. You meet this nice woman or this nice man. You think, gosh, I thought, they're probably, I'm sure they're dating. So I'm sure they'd never go. You don't know that, do you? Because you haven't asked. You haven't tried. You haven't, and here's your new phrase for the day, you haven't tested the limit to find out if it's real or not. And so many people, I would venture to say, all of us in some areas, and many people in many areas of life, they are living under limits that are not real, but they believe they are. So they're obeying them. See, we just don't know what's possible until we find out that it's not. You know, you probably, if you've ever been around performance literature very much, you probably heard the story of the 4-minute mile. You can Google this story, and I don't even remember. I bet Albie could tell me who was the guy that ran the first 4-minute mile. Anyway, for a long time, long, many years, it was Roger Bannister. What year was that out? Isn't it nice to have your own like instantaneous researcher? Roger Bannister did that in a while ago. Great, Albie. Love that answer. A while ago. All right. It's been a while. But for a long time before that, in track and field, no one had ever run a 4-minute mile. But more than that, everyone believed that it was humanly impossible to do. In fact, doctors and medical professionals and all these people said, even if somebody could do it, if they did it, they would die because the human body can't break, if it breaks the 4-minute, it was May 6, 1954. Thank you, Albie. If they did it, then something physiologically, the body couldn't withstand it and they would die. First of all, it can't be done. But if you did it, you're dead. You're like, that's the last mile you're going to run. So for a long time, I don't know how old track and field is, but it's pretty long. Nobody had ever done it, and they're running as fast as they can. Fast as, wasn't it Fiona Apple that sang that song? Fast as you can. They were trying to run as fast as they can. Couldn't break it, right? Because it's a limit. Really? Until somebody broke it. Now, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that after one person broke it, I can't remember what the number is, but it was, I want to say, and this is, don't hold me to this, but this kind of communicates the truth of it, even if it's not accurate. It was like within a year, somebody else broke it, and then another guy broke it, and then another guy broke it. And all of a sudden, they're just breaking it all the time. Why? Because they found out the psychological limit was not a real limit. It was an assumed limit in their heads. Now, here's something we know from other areas of research about physical limits, a lot of things related to that, and other kinds, which has to do with effort and stuff, that your brain will actually tell you you've reached your limit. Are you ready for this? If this is 100% of what your body can push itself to do, if it's 100%, your brain will tell you you're at your limit at about, guess what the number is? 98%, 95 to warn you, don't want to go to the last 5, 91%, no, 40%. It's called the 40% rule. Lie. One of the coolest things that I've ever seen. There's a friend of mine, a guy named Rourke Denver, who's a Navy SEAL, was a Navy SEAL. He writes books now. You ought to go hear him speak sometime. And we were in an arena, tens of thousands of people, or however many, 10,000, I don't know, big arena. And he says to the audience, okay, I want everybody to raise your arms as high as you can. And the whole place raises their arms as high as they could. He says, all right, you got it. And everybody says, yeah. He says, give me 2 more inches. And the whole room goes up. Oh, I thought that was as high as you could. See, we don't know. We just don't know. And we all have to learn this, excuse me. We all have to learn this in life. And you know what? A lot of people find out they're a lot stronger than they thought they were. They can withstand a lot more conflict than they thought they could. They can go through some harder conversations than they thought they would be able to. They could get more out of a deal or a negotiation than they thought they could, because they finally tried. So I want you to think of some areas. And I don't want you listening in those areas where you want to go further. Don't listen to the voice in your head. Don't listen to the voice in your head. Find what reality is. And you'll find out you can go further than you want. 2 more quick examples. One was, this is one of the funniest things, one of the funniest moments that I have ever ever sat through. So when John Townsend and I started a hospital, psychiatric hospital company way back when, and we didn't have any money at all. We had to go find some partners and all this. I mean, we had nothing. We were starting from nowhere. And so once we finally got our first hospital deal done, we went to a physician-owned hospital and talked him into giving us a wing of the hospital to convert to a faith-based psychiatric unit and give us control of it, which is unheard of because we were psychologists for the first, psychologists back then weren't even allowed to admit to hospitals. You had to be admitted under the MD, not the PhD, because the medical world ruled all the political aspects of that. And so we decided, well, of course we can do this. We just won't go through the regular system. We'll go do a deal with the owners of the hospital, and then they'll let us do whatever we want. And so, we kind of went around that. So we're pushing limits, and we're getting this done. And God is opening doors and granting us favor, and incredible things were happening. And we couldn't believe we were ready to open our first hospital unit. We also wanted an outpatient facility where we could see people not in the hospital, but in offices, right? And these, we're doing this deal. We've gotten this. We never thought we would get this far and get further and get further. And so we're in the last meeting, and we needed some office space for our doctors and psychologists to see patients. So but we didn't have any money to put up for a lease or anything. And so we said, well, let's try one more time. We're going to go hit it. We're going to go. And our heads, there's no way they're going to agree to this. There's no way they would. So we went to him and said, we just need one more thing. We need a suite of about 6 offices in your medical building. And we need you to throw that in to the deal. So they looked at each other and turned to us and said, okay. And it, seriously, we almost fainted. But here's the moment. I will never forget this. Townsend looks up at him and he says, and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, I cannot believe we just got. He looks up at him and goes, and we'll need that furnished. And I thought the blood was going to drain out of my face. I was so embarrassed that he goes, oh yeah, that's fine. And we ran out of there and we looked at each other and we're going, what just happened? I mean, why didn't we ask them to buy us new cars also? Well, I mean, get while the getting's good. We could not believe it. But the point is, when we first started, everybody was telling us, you can't do a psychologist run hospital. You can't do that. That's impossible. And you can't do it with this model. And you can't do it with the insurance companies doing what you, and it can't be faith-based because you don't know till you know. So I don't know what you're dreaming of. It could be anything. You want to go take a course, you don't have the money. Find the professor. Ask him if you don't have any money, but you'd like to sit in his course, and for that you'll help him do his filing. I don't know. What do you want to offer somebody? But the point is, you don't know what is impossible until you find out it is impossible. So don't let the limits in your head be the limit. Let the real limit be the limit. And maybe we ought to go back to those guys and ask them to give us the whole building. They probably say no. Okay, well, that's our limit. Well, let's work back from there. Stop assuming. Okay. Go follow your dreams in a relationship. Maybe you think if you bring something up, your fear that somebody's going to explode or whatever. Well, do you know? Have you tried it? Do we need to learn? I mean, don't put yourself in danger. I'm talking about, you're afraid of conflict. Find out the real limit.